To friends and colleagues and family and all of us who are gathered here, we're here to share a very special time, marking a century of this student newspaper we've all been affiliated with. And I rarely get going this early, but at Oberby's request, Sidney and I think this is way too early. He thinks it's late. But we're here trying to do the best we can. My situation has afforded me more time to become familiar with the history of this, the ebb and flow of the student publication. Not only did I lead the effort 25 years ago for the 75th, I'm now back in Oxford as full-time as of 2001 and have had more time to devote to this celebration. And I urged Will to find somebody younger who would know the younger generations, but I've managed to meet a lot of them and bridge that gap. We've muddled along as best we could, and it's been a great experience for me, and you bet it's filled my time in a more interesting way than anything else I could have been doing. Given all that, I will devote my remarks to our history briefly, not in detail, but to the leadership and these factors that have run together from the earliest performances. I've been amazed to realize that every decade, beginning in 1911, has repeated so many of the same patterns. The people participating in running the operation of the paper see themselves as a very special and talented group. Modesty is not a long suit here. And it's always been true, and they've had a wonderful time doing what they're doing. And the editor or other staff members have always been in some kind of trouble with the chancellor or with someone because they stand up and say pretty consistently what they think is right. And frequently the chancellors simply have a fit because they think they're going to offend everybody from the governor on and the legislators. And my dear friend Jim Autry says, who would think anyone would pay any attention to what students say in their newspaper? But in Mississippi they do, and they take it quite seriously. So it makes for an interesting dichotomy there that has been continuous. And if you have a chance while you're here to see the film that was made 25 years ago by Marie Antoon, who's making another film on this occasion, you'll see Albert Russell, who was editor of the paper in 1935 or 36. The years run together. But the interview with him, he talks about Chancellor Butts, who confronted him with whatever he had come out and said, and I don't remember the particulars. He was with the National Cotton Council for years, but I still can hear him saying his remark because he spoke of Butts and he made worm into a 6-syllable word. He says, Chancellor Butts could make you feel like a worm. And indeed, I'm sure that he could. I'm hoping we're going to have a wonderful time together, and I'm sure we will. As I said, I've been amazed at how much the decades have repeated themselves from the beginning, with somebody always proposing to kick the editor out, but that never happened. And he laughs, he knows. And the experience of having freedom with no faculty supervision or censorship to say what you wanted to say and to say it quite freely has sustained itself over the years and has been an unusual blessing that you don't find at every institution, and it's something we can all be proud of and be glad to have it as part of our history. Many times editors found they had to stand alone. One of the people writing and quoted in the booklet we had speaks of Gail Denley, telling him that if you do have to stand alone and none of your friends are with you, you go there because you really have no other course if you are doing what you think you should be doing. And that's important, and that's something that, again, is part of a long pattern that I was surprised to see how consistently it has been the case. The department, and this is really departmental history, which will come along later, but I think the journalism department over the years has been more apt to offer opportunities to all students and to promote all students to have the opportunities to go forward as they can. There are a few people who had wanted to be here today that can't be, that I'll mention briefly. Jack Napier, who was in the first journalism classes in 1947, in February of 47 were the first classes. They met in the Lyceum, which I hadn't known, and he was here 25 years ago, and full of himself then, because as he said, we won Second World War, and I've been celebrating ever since, and he still is. But he doesn't walk quite as well as he did, so, but he calls frequently and gets us up to date, and it was his younger brother that I defeated when I became editor. So he said, how much did you beat him? I said, I don't know, a lot. Anyway, the department has done what it can to promote opportunities across the board from the time it's been here. My dear friend Abe Tahir, who was business manager the year Larry Frank was editor, had expected to be here, but has suffered some problems, physical problems, and was not able to come. And that's too bad, because Abe always added a lot to wherever he was. He was full of humor and good cheer and was wonderful company always. I'm going to be quiet and sit down and welcome you one more time. And we have a lot of people with a lot of things to say this morning, and all I'm supposed to do is start it off and consider it started.
Mine's off. Is yours? When I think about Abe Tahir, this is not in my notes, but she mentioned Abe. Abe had a stamp made called, and it said Grade Abe. And if you wanted to get a bill approved for the business manager to pay, you'd go in, he'd stamp it, Grade Abe. That means the bill could be paid. And one time, one of our junior staff members went in pleading for something, and Abe stamped him right on the forehead. That's what we did at the Mississippian office in those days. I'm happy to be here and add my voice to Liz's and others you will hear in welcoming you. What makes this reunion and gathering special for me is that in a way it's another celebration of the enormous changes and progress in the journalism program here. And when I say that, you know, I use the word journalism in only its symbolic meaning. That is, in the way that journalism has come to mean what its practitioners do, without reference to the medium in which they do it. Journalism now rarely refers to anything appearing in a, quote, journal, unquote. That's obvious today, but for many years, working for a journal was what all of us aspired to do. When I graduated from Ole Miss, my entire ambition was be a newspaper man, make $50 a week. I say that to students, and they say, what, you know, life goals, no net worth plans, nothing? And no, be a newspaper man, make $50 a week. I thought if I could do that, that would be heaven. Well, after flying jet fighters in the Air Force, I became a newspaper man, and then a magazine editor, and then finally a corporate executive, an achievement I suspect had my freshman economics professor spinning in his grave. Of course, the world of journalism has changed so much, as you all know, even to the point that the whole word newspaper man or woman doesn't mean that much anymore. I mean, if you blog, what are you? If your medium is an internet, quote, publication, unquote, what are you? What is the Huffington Post? And if you work there, what are you? No political commentary, please. I think the point is obvious. Just as journalism is not the same and never will be, journalism education is not the same and never will be. The paradigm has shifted, as they like to say. You know, every time I hear that, I can't help quipping, brother, can you paradigm? I think you had to be a Depression baby to get that one. But our graduates, our literate, you know, skillful communicators will not think of themselves in traditional media terms. They must instead be able to apply their skills and their intelligence and their sensibilities to communicating in a variety of media and doing it all at the same time, to which I say better them than me. It's going to be challenging. I hope, however, that what I've seen happen in other disciplines does not happen in journalism, and that is a preoccupation with all the fancy technology to the exclusion of good reporting and writing. I used to say that to me, my computer was just a fancy pencil because I only used it for writing. And then it became a very fancy encyclopedia, and then a whole library. And now who knows? But my computer will never become a reporter or a writer, and never will, despite all the artificial intelligence talk. We need to remember that. We have a grand tradition of journalism at Ole Miss, and that is a laser-like focus above everything else on getting the words right. No matter the technology, get the words right. The focus not only shaped my education as a journalist, but it shaped my life. Here we learn from our faculty, we learn from one another, as Liz likes to say, we did learn from one another, always with that same focus, get the words right. Even though in my last 10 years of corporate life, which I left journalism for corporate management, what I learned at Ole Miss, having nothing to do with finance or strategic planning or marketing strategy, informed my business life. And indeed, it informed my personal life. What were the lessons we learned in getting the words right? To listen, to learn, then to observe and report. I'm happy to say this is still being taught here in this magnificent facility. I know that our graduate journalists will take these lessons with them and will continue to become what the best journalists have always been: listeners and learners, observers and reporters. I'm honored to have co-chaired this with my dear friend, Liz, and to have worked with others in bringing it about. Patricia Thompson needs to be called out as doing a magnificent job. And I'm humbled to be here back among all you great Mississippian staffers, and I look forward to listening to and learning from you.